Welcome back for another review. This time it's about the Hifiman HE400se. Got quite a hype recently as being the cheapest option to get into planar magnetic headphones, and it gets recommended like really often for basically everything, like because it has soundstage, its detail level is pretty good, and just sound itself is pretty high quality for the price point of around, at least here it's like 120 euro. I think the usual price is 150. So yeah, let's see if it can live up to the hype. As usual, let's start with build quality. So Hifiman is kinda well known for their rather poor quality control and their kind of questionable build quality design choices, even with their more expensive headphones, and they have a kind of a history of driver failures and things breaking apart and being like really cheaply constructed, like all in all. As far as I can tell, my unit is fine, like I don't hear any driver issues, and it actually, especially for price and being a hi-fi man, it feels quite well built. Like you have a lot of metal here and the yokes who even like screwed in, and it's kind of heavy. And although this looks like metal, it's plastic. Like it's hard plastic, but yeah, but the yokes are still made of metal, so that's fine, I guess. They use the cheap headband that they also use with the Diva, I think, and the Edition XS, which is an awful design choice, but we will get to that later. And I cannot shake the feeling. I don't know. I see it with my eyes that it's kind of okay constructed. Like especially like I said for a hi-fi man, it's a good build for the price, but still it feels cheap. Like you hold it in your hand, and just like how the cups move, like the little bit of swivel they have, and just how everything feels kind of clunky, and yeah, it's heavy, but it still feels kind of flimsy, and yeah, it's kind of weird to describe. But for example, when I'm holding the Sennheiser HD560s, which I recently reviewed, it's like completely made out of plastic except for the sliders, and it still feels more solid than this one. And I don't know why that is. Like maybe that's just me. It just still it feels cheap. But for a hi-fi man, it's one of the better builds, and even in comparison with the more expensive hi-fi man headphones, this is actually like this can take a fall, I would say. It clicks and creaks when you move it around, but when I'm listening to music or like have it on my head, it doesn't matter because I don't get any clicks when I'm on my head, just when you're moving it around like this. The cable in the earlier editions, I have one of the later editions. Like I said, I bought it like a few months ago. Um, and they actually changed the cable because it was that awful in the earlier editions, and people were like raving about it, like about how shitty the cable was, and so they changed it. And now it's actually like it's not an awesome cable, but it's fine. Like it's not stiff, it's rubberized, and it's not like thin. It's just like a really standard rubberized cable, and I guess that's fine. Like I said, especially for the price, it's a good cable. So all in all, it's a good build for Hi-Fi Man. Still, it has the Hi-Fi Man build quality charm. So let's talk about comfort, which is a thing with these where I'm pretty disappointed in Hi-Fi Man, or maybe I'm just like my head's just built different. Reading about these, most people apparently find them reasonably comfortable. And at the beginning, I found that to be the case too. But after using them more and more, its flaws like kind of annoy me a lot. At first, it's kind of heavy, which is not a bad thing. I wear much heavier headphones without causing discomfort. For example, let me show you. I have here the Monolith M1060se. This behemoth of a headphone is like, I think it's over 600 gram or something like this. This thing is, I think it's not even 400, it's like kind of below 400. So at least there's like a 200 gram difference. And although this is heavy and has like a often criticized and kind of flimsy headband, I can wear this like easily for like a longer time than this because of the headband here. This thing, like I said in the build quality section, is the cheaper headband they used in the Diva and with the Edition XS, and it's awful. It's just plain awful. Like, it looks kind of okay, like just like a standard headband, but it's just so firm. Like it's not soft at all, and it's just you wear these, and because these have like a really not much of a clamping force. There is a clamping force, but it's not a lot. So the headband is taking like all the weight. You get like at least I get a hot spot in the middle here, like after like a few minutes, and it gets progressively worse over like the next half an hour, 40 minutes, and it really starts to hurt. And I don't have this with these for some case. Like with these, I get a hotspot too here, but I kind of forget it after the same time where this gets worse. I kind of forget these ones that are like, of course, you know that you're wearing headphones. These are like 600 gram, but it's just like a pillow over your head, and that hugs you. Where this feels like something wooden. It's on my head, and then we can go on with the ear cups. They seem fine. They have this like fake leather on the outside, and I don't know if you can see, and they have like some cloth interior, which feels fine, but somehow I don't know if it's the weird swivel or something, or I just don't get like a really good fit on my head. But 50% of the time where I wear these, I get like pain on below, like on the downside of my ears, like here. And I just don't, I know these are soft. Something about the clamping force and about this padding is just like it gets hot and gets painful after some time. And I'm really not sensitive when it comes to clamping force or padding. Like I have a lot of different headphones with different padding and different headbands, and somehow this is one of the worst. And I know a lot of people think that about the headband, that it's really awful, but most people actually like the ear cups and the padding. So I don't know what's that about me, but I can't deal with these. Like they are just like exhausting to have on my head. Such a pity that they did not went with the headband of the Sondaras or of the Hifiman Ananda, where you have like kind of a suspension strap here, like kind of the Odyssey style headbands, which is like so much better. Like it's like something like this here, just better. I mean, if this headphone would have had like a better headband, it would be miles more comfortable. So all in all, the weight distribution is like pretty bad, at least for me, and I find these to be like pretty uncomfortable. Maybe that's just me, because a lot of people are not that bothered by it. The padding also feels, when you push it down, it does not feel like there's much inside. It does not feel like memory foams. You push it down and it's back instantly, which is not a bad thing in itself, but in combination with the other stuff. And it's just, I usually really like kind of velour cloth padding stuff, but this does not feel good for me. It's just, I don't know. It's bad. It's a shame that the comfort doesn't really do it for me, because the sound is actually pretty awesome, especially for the price point of the HE400se. So the first thing I noticed when listening to it was that it actually sounded really clear. The first buzzword I would use to describe the sound were like cold, maybe a little bit analytical, not extremely bright, but maybe kind of sterile, kind of a neutral bright, but still a little bit laid back. This is because there's like a dip between 1 and 2K, which is kind of typical for the Hifiman sound, which makes everything, like especially like instruments like guitars, sound a little bit more distant and have a little less attack. So it's not pushing, like, for example, like rock guitars, like directly in your ear, and they're like just a little distant, but still there is like a really present airiness. Nothing is muddy. So let's start with the bass. This being a planar headphone, you can hear planar bass. Like, this is my first planar, and I really wanted to find out what it means like listening to a planar bass. And what I found out that it's actually like different. Like, you can hear the difference. The bass, while not being there like in a whole lot of quantity, it's still really there. Like, it's tight and it goes really deep. And I know everyone keeps saying this, but it sounds really textured. Bass is not muddy at all. It's like really punchy. It's really clear. I feel like you can really feel the bass, and it hits you really hard. It doesn't sound boomy or anything at all. Still, although it hits pretty hard, it still feels kind of thin, because like the body is not really there. Like I said, the bass quantity is not really, it's not much. Still, there is a little bump in the lower mids, but I think like even with like boosting that bass, I don't think this is the headphone for people who really want like really rumbly bass that shakes your head. It's really not that kind of bass. It's a different kind. Mid-range is pretty neutral. There's a slight elevation here and there, but nothing too big. And still, there is a dip in the higher mids and like going into the lower treble, which is kind of typical for a lot of Hifiman headphones, and it's kind of their house sound. And that makes everything sound a bit wider and a bit more taken back and less harsh. Although this headphone being bright sounds actually pretty smooth to me. Nothing shouts at you. Like, there's just kind of an atmosphere like around you and not like directly next to you or in front of you. So travel-wise, some people compare this to the Sundara, which can be somewhat bright and fatiguing, but I myself have not listened to the Sundara, so I cannot really judge that. But I don't think the HE400se is fatiguing. I didn't EQ it at all, and treble just sounds like really clear to me. It's not harsh. I don't hear any sibilants. There's nothing piercing. It does have an elevation like around 7K, 8K. It still sounds smooth enough to me. But I guess that gives it some kind of airiness that makes the treble a bit more special. And I guess that's what people noticed, and some people are kind of sensitive to. But to me, everything's fine and just sounds really clear. The soundstage is really open, everything surrounds you, and although it's not like the widest soundstage or anything, it's kind of maybe a little bit above average in width. The imaging works pretty well, and it's not blobby at all. Like, it really sounds like stuff is happening here and there, and it has that kind of atmospheric feeling, especially with the sound profile that makes everything a little distant. Everything works really well together, and to me music sounds really immersive, and I found them to be a really all-around pleasant listening experience. And if you like kind of a neutral, bright but not too bright, even kind of like a little bit relaxing version of analytical, then I think cannot go wrong with these sound-wise, if you're okay with the comfort. So that's it for this review. I hope I could help you a little with your decision to buy or not to buy the Hifiman HE400se. And yeah, hope you will tune in next time. See you then.